Gary here again, and in this video I want to talk about words and phrases to avoid. It's quite important that you avoid certain words and phrases because they can be quite confusing and they'll cause problems to both yourself and the pupil. Excuse me a sec. Just got Rory that wants to come and sit on my knee. Just say hello with Rory. There you go. So the words and phrases that you want to avoid are non-instructional terms. So I have gone through instructional terminology in a separate video. If you have a look at that one, you'll know what I mean by instructional terminology. But try to avoid anything that's a non-instructional term. Things like hang on, you might be going around a corner a bit fast, or pulling out of a junction too soon. You don't want to be saying things hang on, or whoa, or something like left hand down or right hand down, those kind of things, because they're not really instructional terms. They're terms that people use in everyday life and situations, but it's not really helpful to a pupil, and it's not professional when you're supposed to be instructing. So try to avoid things that are non-instructional terms. Also think about how you use the word right. A lot of people will say right quite often in daily conversation, so listen to the way that you talk and the things that you say, and hear yourself saying the word right, and when you say it. Try to avoid saying that in instruction, because unless you want them to turn right, you wouldn't want to say, let's say for example, right, take the next road on the left, because they'll think, right, am I turning right or am I turning left? So rather than starting a sentence with right, get rid of it and maybe say okay, take the next road on the left. So if you do hear yourself saying right quite a lot, just try and substitute it with a different word if you want, or get rid of it altogether. So right is quite an important one to hear yourself saying in the first place. Another one that isn't an instructional term but a lot of people use it is slow down. To a first phase pupil in particular, slow down doesn't mean anything, and in a role play situation with an examiner they won't do what you want them to do. In real life, a real pupil might interpret that correctly and do what you want them to, but try not to be in the habit of saying slow down, because if you do that with pupils, if you're on a training licence and you say slow down and it might work, I can guarantee it won't work when you get into a test situation. So you'll be sitting there thinking, why is this examiner or pupil not slowing down? And it's because you're not using the right terminology. So rather than saying slow down, which doesn't really mean anything, use the correct terminology, off gas or gently brake. Whatever you physically want them to do, tell them exactly what to do. Using the word stop is another one that you need to be careful with. There are times, obviously, when you want the pupil to stop, so you would say stop, but try not to say it at the wrong time. So for example, if you come into, let's say a T-junction and it says a stop sign or a closed junction, and when they get to the junction you wanted them to stop. On approach, try and avoid saying things like, okay, this is a closed junction, we need to stop here, because if you say stop here, wherever you are on that road, you might be 100 yards from the junction, they're going to stop there because you've said stop here. So be careful with the way that you use the word stop. You could reword that and say, when we arrive at the junction you'll need to stop, so that they know where you're talking about. And try and avoid using the word stop just anywhere. Make sure that it is specific to exactly when you want them to stop. So you might say stop doing that, or stop steering, for example. You might put a stop word into something else if you like, but that'll probably just cause the pupil to stop dead, stop the car. Not stop what they're doing, but just stop the car because they've heard the stop word. So be careful in the way that you use the word stop. And another little phrase that people use quite often can be misinterpreted, and that's if you're bringing you're wanting the pupil to stop on the left in a moving off and stopping lesson, let's say, and using very basic guided instruction. What you should be saying when you want them to stop is gently brake to stop, but you might be saying to the pupil and brake to stop. Now if you say and brake to stop, they hear it as hand brake to stop, so they'll just snatch the handbrake on and stop the car on the handbrake. So it causes problems that shouldn't be there if you're using the correct terminology. So think about the way that you say things, listen to the instructions that you're using, and see if it can be misinterpreted. If you think that whatever you've said to the pupil could be misinterpreted. They could do something that you wouldn't want them to do because of your instruction. Change the instruction, change the terminology of it, and find a different way of making it foolproof so that no matter what you're talking about, they can't misinterpret it and do something different and cause problems for both of you. So hopefully that's helped you a little bit on words and phrases to avoid using. Thanks for listening. Say bye-bye, Rory.